All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the Return2Play Podcast. I'm here with Dr. Aissa, a pelvic floor and physical therapist specialist. We are going to be chatting today a little bit about her upcoming book and seeing about how she's going to fit in with our Return2Play program as we continue to launch it. So give us a little bit of a brief background and how you kind of became into the physical therapy and specifically the pelvic floor stuff, which I know I've already had a client come see you about and seen some good results. So I'll let you give us a little rundown.
Yeah, so I am a physical therapist. Pretty much physical therapy kind of found me. I was in high school and I was thinking of what career should I pick? Not knowing anything about physical therapy other than I didn't have to sit at a desk for 40 hours a week. I chose physical therapy, went through 7 years of school, and I became a physical therapist. But while I was in grad school, I was very into fitness. So I was working out 6 days a week. I was in school. I was working 2 jobs. I was eating well. I was doing everything right. I looked the greatest I had in my entire life, but at the same time, I felt like absolute crap. So I was constantly nauseous. I had these random jolts of pain, and it would go from my wrist to my foot to my head to just random areas in my body. I was constantly nauseous, no matter what I ate. I had this bloating, I bled outside of my normal period, I had these frequent infections, and I was doing everything right. So I went to all these doctors, had all these expensive tests done just for them to tell me, there's really nothing wrong with you. So I'm doing everything right, but I feel awful. So it made me ask so many questions. So throughout grad school, I was very interested in kind of learning about why are all these things happening, because I couldn't just take I don't know for an answer. So throughout asking all of these different questions about my body, I've also ended up working with people who've had very similar challenges. And it just leads me to ask so many more questions. And just asking all these questions, it gave me a whole bunch of different answers. And it just helped me understand bodies better. So I just want to teach people about their bodies.
The education factor. I think that was something that I think we both share in common pretty strongly, and something I felt was missing in the just standard personal training world where I sort of came from, was actually putting in the effort to educate your client on why you're having them do this versus that, because people see things on Instagram, they see other things in the gym, and well, why is he pulling the bar down that way? You have me doing it this way, instead of just saying because.
Yeah.
This is the way I do it. You actually have reasons, and then they're like, oh, well, that makes sense. I'm going to keep doing it that way. Perfect. I don't have that same goal that guy has. Yeah. Maybe this is going to change the way I need to train. So being a little more involved in trying to push the knowledge down towards the client or the patient. Very cool. The book is called Connect the Body Dots, right?
Yes.
That I assume has culminated from all of those little sectors of research that you ended up doing on yourself. Can you give us a little bit about the book?
So when I first started in treating people for physical therapy, I was seeing people for their foot, their knee, their shoulder, random spots in their body. And we're supposed to just treat that one spot. So I treated that one spot, but they didn't fully get better with just treating that one spot. You have to look below, you have to look above, you have to look way further above, you have to look at their spine. You have to look at their neck, all of these things, they're connected. And then what I also found was that while I was treating these patients for their knee, their ankle, their neck, they had all these other things going on internally in terms of their gut, their hormones. And what I found was that all of these things were related, and they were all related in terms of how they eat, how they move, how they live their life, and how they think. So Connect the Body Dots is just understanding all these connections within our body, understanding how this relates to our life and what we can actually do about it, because there's so much we could do about it.
From things that are as simple as just getting some sunlight, getting to bed on time, paying attention to how much sugar you're eating, how you respond to sodium. I just finally had a breakthrough with one of my clients I actually saw this morning. She's constantly been telling me for, I've been training her for probably 2.5 years or so, but that salt gives her headaches, immediately. Anytime she does anything with salt, she gets a headache. But she was low on vitamin D, she's low on some of these other markers. She was a chronic sunscreen user, so she wasn't getting that transition from the cholesterol to vitamin D. And she was getting sick all the time, and I was telling her the sodium thing is really puzzling me. I couldn't quite find out what might be the correlation, and she finally had someone that brought up the correlation between histamine and sodium. And she was like, I'm one of those people that has a histamine response to sodium. So if I have more than just like a sprinkle of salt in my water, I get this like massive headache.
Yeah.
And it's the histamine reaction and the swelling of the higher dose of sodium versus if she just does like little sprinkles throughout the day. She's been doing that for like a week and a half now, feels a lot better. And I'm like, who knew? It was literally just you needed to microdose sodium. Because I've been telling her, I'm like, you shouldn't be avoiding it.
Yeah.
Sodium is necessary for muscle contraction, all these other biological processes. So I'm like, the fact that you have to feel like you need to avoid it, something's up there.
Yeah. I like to say it's like your body alerting you that something's off because we need that. And even with, I find this often with like the people who have like this histamine intolerance, maybe have more chronic pain, chronic issues. What I find is a lot of those people are more sympathetic dominant, meaning they're just stressed out in many areas of their life as well as in their body. Yeah. And a lot of those people, they need to learn how to calm their body down so that they don't have this histamine response, so that they can tolerate something that their body actually needs.
She's definitely exactly that. She can't meditate. She doesn't like to sit still. She doesn't enjoy sauna. She doesn't enjoy infrared, like anything that's kind of there to help you parasympathetically get more connected. She's like, no, I don't want to do that. So I'm like, well, that's probably a sign that you need to do that more. So she's considering a cold plunge soon. She's maybe opening up to some of these other things that she's been a little resistant on. But that was a puzzle for about 2 years till it was finally like, oh, there could be that just tiny piece of change where it's like maybe dosing your whole meal with salt is too much. Just put a little bit in the water, and that does seem to have made a pretty good difference for her. So
I couldn't live. Couldn't salt my food.
Yeah, that's
oh my God.
That's what I'm telling her. I'm like, that's
you're missing out on life.
That's a big piece of what we're living here for.
Yeah.
So, no, I love it. It's those little mysteries, though, that I would have in my clients that really made me want to dig deeper, find out why, and how I also had that journey of, all right, I have this stall point with a client. What's going on here? So I would deep dive and figure out, well, why is this and this not working? This has normally helped so-and-so in the past with this similar issue. I'm like, oh, there's another category I'm not familiar with. And then I would dive into neurokinetic therapy and how that kind of helped teach me how much connection there was between your TMJ and the way you walk, or how you're sitting and getting out of chairs and the amount of back and chest problems you're dealing with. Your structure is just not strong enough to support these global movement patterns because they've just been trained in isolation for so long. They kind of have this amnesia, that I'll call it, when people are saying, oh, my glute doesn't activate, or I can't feel it. Those are signs that it's atrophied to a point where that connection to the brain is kind of gone. So I would describe that as like an amnesia in the muscle. Yeah. Finding ways to stimulate that again. So I know there's peripheral nerve stimulators, and you can do some tactile poking on a muscle if someone's not able to understand where you want them to squeeze. Sometimes sending that signal back up to the brain allows the brain to understand where to send it back to that muscle. So I learned some of these techniques, and it really just helped open my eyes to the whole, like, maybe I'm doing a good thing where I'm at in this athletic trainer as a personal trainer, instead of wanting to continue on to physical therapy like I originally had thought about. I saw kind of what you mentioned, which is the whole, like, all right, I'm getting these people who they've been cleared from physical therapy, but their therapist only helped their knee. Their ankles are still jacked up. They still have back pain. So, like, they didn't actually help the person on a global scale. They just really stayed pretty localized. So I realized there's a lot of people in that category that I was able to kind of help do that next piece, which is where the Return to Play program has kind of spurred from, is bridging that gap between that localized, okay, that's feeling better, but now how do we just get the entire body back functioning well? And it does take looking into recovery. How are you sleeping? How do you walk? What positions are you in 3/4 of the day? Let's try to adjust this or that lifestyle factor. And it became much more of a full body approach, not just me giving you a training program. It was like, well, if it's going to be effective, you have to sleep well, you have to recover well, you need to be eating the right way. If you're going to have 500 calories left to have your ice cream or your whatever, this and that, you just have to plan for it, or adjust your level of activity to accommodate you wanting to eat that food. Because I'm a foodie. I don't like telling people you can't eat ice cream or you can't eat this or that. I'm like, you can eat it. You just need to be mindful of how often, how much, and are you active enough to support you being able to eat that and it not cause a problem. So everything with moderation is usually my comeback, and then taking everything to an evolutionary approach also. Like, well, we haven't lived past 45 for very long. Yeah. Our bodies have not gotten to a point hormonally where they've had to have the adrenal glands work for 90 years or these other hormonal players dictate anything further than probably 50s-ish was kind of like the oldest person you might see in the village over 100 years ago. I don't know how many.
But I think it's just because we have like so much technology, like our food quality, it's worse in some ways, but we're able to get more specifically of what our body needs. I feel like it's so possible to like live into like our 80s, 90s, 100s and be just like thriving, like moving around, taking care of ourselves. Maybe not look like you did when you were 20 years old, but still like look good. But it's all a matter of like how we're living our life right now. And we didn't live, we used to like get eaten by like a tiger or a lion hundreds of years ago. But now we don't have those. But what we do have now is we're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. We have all of these things that are telling us this is what we should be doing. This is how you should look like. We have all of those different things that are now our new lions and tigers that would eat us at 45. But what I feel like what we're doing, especially with like the Return to Play and the program that we're going to be doing, it's teaching you how that you are able to help your body live to 80, 90, 100, so that when you get there, you're living your life like how you want to, not how you have to live it. You're not stuck in a wheelchair. You're not stuck taking a fistful of medications. You're not stuck just being miserable in your life. And I believe it's completely possible.
I definitely agree. I'm pretty sure most people in our age bracket have seen our parents and grandparents go through a lot of challenges as they've gone into their retirement age. And it was that whole mentality, well, I'm going to work really hard and, I'm 20s to 60, and then when I'm 60, I'll go travel the world. But you just spent 40 years beating your body up, not taking care of it, working for someone that doesn't care about you enough to allow you the time or give you the incentive to go take care of yourself.
And that's when the health issues, that's when the cancer comes up, that's when the hormonal, this is when the perimenopause and menopause symptoms start to kick in because of how we lived our life for 60 years. And that's our time, we retire at that time, and we think we're gonna go do all these things, but because of how we lived, it looks like we're not gonna go do these things. We're gonna spend our life revolving our life around the doctor's office.
Yep, I would venture to say that's more than 95% of people over the age of 65.
It is so common.
Probably just, in and out of doctor's offices all the time. And the system that's been in place for the last several decades has not given the right incentives to the right people to actually take care of the patients. Most of the practitioners in our preferred network are cash pay.
Yeah.
Clinics specifically because of that. I'm not sure if I've asked you if you're officially only cash pay or if you dabble with both. You are too? Yeah, I figured. Most of the good ones are, because they've realized that insurance model is not incentivizing things in a way that's best for the clients, and that you can take better care of your clients if you just have them come straight to you. Maybe they pay a little bit more initially, but they're going to have less overall sessions, less visits overall, and ultimately only spend $1,500, not $6,000 at the end of the year to get this same problem figured out.
Yeah.
Because the amount of clients I've had where I'm like, I'm pretty sure you need an MRI. You should just go get an MRI. They're like, well, my insurance wants me to do the x-ray first, and then I need to try 4 sessions of PT, and then if nothing's better, then they'll do the MRI. I'm like, so you're going to be 6 weeks more hurt, more irritated, more financially in the hole now, and now you're going to get the thing that's going to tell them exactly where to go to and who to send you to and what you need.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that $300 MRI is still cheaper than the 4 sessions of PT, the amount of other co-pays you probably had to pay. So, like, it ends up not really being the system that serves us. Yeah. So, happy to be part of the
We're lucky.
Step forward to try and adjust this system and show people there is something else out there and places that are caring about client-first experience. So where do you feel you will have the most impact with our Return to Play system? I know we talked a little bit about you being pelvic floor specialist, but you're not just that, right? I know you still pay attention to the whole body. So give us a little rundown of your kind of areas of preference so that I may know exactly who I want to send or spend a few sessions with you, and anyone listening may understand like, oh, that's the type of physical therapist I need. And then after that is taken care of, then we usher you into the remainder of the Return to Play program and continue getting the whole body back. I wanted to give people a little idea of where your expertise is specifically.
Yeah, so I treat the entire body. So when I first started for 7 years or so, I didn't even touch the pelvic floor. I didn't know anything about the pelvic floor. So I was treating foot, knee, ankle, hip, back, neck, shoulder, elbow. I don't touch hands. But I was treating everything in the body. And then once I had my daughter, this is when I said, okay, maybe I should learn about this stuff. And what I found was when I was working with like actual like pelvic floor clients, it was never just their pelvic floor. It was so many other things going on in their body, and then their pelvic floor was taking a beating as a result of this. So their pelvic floor was taking a beating as a result of their ankles being stiff, not being able to move their knees, not being able to load into their hips, having a back that just sits all day long. And then the pelvic floor, you start leaking, you start feeling like that heaviness, you can't poop, you have belly issues as a result of all these things going on in their body. So usually when I work with people, it is people who have had years of issues in their body. I love a simple person every once in a while that, oh, my ankle hurts. Okay, that's very simple. But a lot of the times when I'm working with somebody, I see people who have ankle, knee, hip, neck, pelvic. I see people who have problems everywhere. So what I do is I find the area that is likely most limiting them the most, and we kind of just like take a total body approach. Okay, we're gonna address here. As this improves, this gets better. Then we work to another spot. And as each of these areas get better, it's not that you're just treating that one spot in your body. Everything gets better. And as everything gets better, you're able to exercise more. You're able to do the exercises that you want to do. You're able to see results better. And you're able to continue and not continue with this cycle of stop, start, stop, start, because everything in your body is improving and you're progressing over time. So a lot of the times when people come into an exercise program, they don't even, they know, oh, I have problems with my knee, I have problems with my ankle, but they don't really address it. So they just start exercising, and that problem in their body, it's gonna hold them back. So when we address these things early on, you address the pain, you address why you don't move as well, but you're able to actually get better results out of your workout program just because you move better. And you're getting better results out of your workout program instead of like you're getting stronger, you're looking better. But also you're getting the result of having everything inside of you function better as well, because our movement is very important in our gut, our hormones, our reproductive organs, our heart, our lungs. It's important for everything. And when we move better, which is what I teach people to do, I teach people to move better. This allows everything in your body to be amplified.
1000%. I love that. It's very synonymous with what I feel like I've been doing the last 10 years is, I'm like, all right, well, you're telling me this is the area that's hurting you, but I need to address why your hips are not operating properly, because that's correlating to all of these things down the chain. And the fact that you don't know how to activate your arch, another thing we're going to have to tend to. So I'm having them do hip flexors with a band and arch support, or not arch support, arch lifts to mimic the support that's in their shoe. I'm like, you can create that shape yourself.
Yeah.
You don't need that orthotic anymore. That should be a 4 to 8 week solution, and like throw it away.
Yeah.
One of the big things I was taught in athletic training is like, don't let anyone ever wear this more than like 12 weeks. They're like,
oh, really? That's
like,
good.
I think I had very out of the box athletic training teachers. The goal is to strengthen and then use that to keep it from being overly irritated so that the pain comes back. After a few weeks, you need to wean off of that so that the support is actually building muscle endurance, which is what you need for less back pain, less foot pain. All of this is the muscles have to be able to stay active long enough.
Yeah.
The second they can't stay active, that's when you start having irritation set in, and then it's pain, and then eventually you have to seek help for it.
Yeah.
If you can just learn, all right, I need to use these tools in the way they're meant, not rely on them long term as the crutch that could just solve my problem without me having to consciously do anything. I can just put the thing in my shoe. That's the unfortunate American way, which is I just want the easier way out. Give me the pill, give me the orthotic, give me the walker. It's fine, I don't care.
The surgery, the injection,
the surgery,
the medication.
Yep. Dane and I were talking about how a lot of people are, in that camp considering surgery, and they're like, well, if I do the surgery, I'll heal faster. And we're like, well, when you have surgery, you get cut open, so you actually backtrack a good little bit.
Yeah.
Now you get back to where you were. Now we're starting from where we could have started in the first place. So seemingly being an easier way, but it actually makes your process a lot longer, especially if you really didn't need that surgery in the first place, which is one thing we're trying to do with Return to Play, is help you realize, do I really need that surgery? Is there enough that I've tried before officially agreeing with the doctor, okay, yep, I'll get that surgery?
And I'd say more often than not, people don't need it. And
I would agree.
People want the surgery, but they never want to address why they need the surgery. And when you address why you need the surgery, you can avoid it, and you have a better outcome than if you had the surgery, because now you're dealing with scar tissue. Now you have a weakness in that area because they literally just cut it open. You have the fact that you had to take all this time off and your body systemically got weaker, and that's going to infect everything in your body. So it's kind of like this like domino effect. If you think that you need surgery, you're going to be setting yourself back so much. But if we just think of why is this happening? If we just ask more questions why this is happening and we address why this is happening in the first place, we could set ourselves up better for better results.
1000%. And if you're walking in a way that's wearing out your knee and you get a knee replacement and you didn't address how you're walking, you're just going to wear out your new knee, or something else up or down the chain is going to be the next thing to wear out. So you're not really addressing what got you there.
Yeah. So many times I've seen people say, oh, I got this knee done. This one's next. Now the hip's next. Now this other hip is next. It's like, where do we stop?
Bionic.
Yeah.
Bionic beings.
People become bionic people because we just think that that's going to fix the problem, and it never really fixes it.
And I think a lot of people feel like, oh, it's just an age thing. I can't heal well enough to not need this anymore. And well, you just haven't treated your body in a way that it knows how to heal. So all these things just start compounding, and then you add medications in the mix, which change up your whole physiology internally. Now your inflammation markers are off. Now your timing of this and that are off. Your cortisol starts to change its cycle. Now you're getting sleepy in the daytime and you're wide awake at midnight. And then you have the domino effect. And it all comes down to just learning how to regulate the nervous system and then understanding intensity versus volume with training, especially if you're getting into working around an injury or trying to avoid irritating it worse.
Yeah.
There's a very fine line of how much strengthening you can do on that area before it breaks through that capacity barrier, and now you're potentially going to re-injure it. What we do with Return to Play is very delicately try and toe the line of where's the capacity at for this tissue? Let's see how you respond in the next 48 hours, make sure that was appropriate, and then we'll continue to slowly inch forwards to build the capacity back up to where now you can go be a triple jumper in the Olympics again, or whatever the crazy sport that you decide you like to play. We just want you to be able to do that without limitations. So I think that kind of segues us nicely into the workshop that we're collabing on soon, which is the Health is Wealth workshop. I'll let you give us a little bit of the rundown on how that's looking and what the special deals are with that.
Yeah, so I'm so excited about this workshop. One of the first thing that we're going to address is this lifestyle component along with our nervous system, because so many of us feel like we're so stressed out, and some of us don't even know that we're stressed out. And it all kind of comes into like how we live our life. So what I want to do, and especially in this first part of our workshop, is help us have a little bit more awareness of how all these different things that we're doing throughout our life are tipping our bodies towards this stress state, which is limiting our capacity to heal. And based off of like understanding this awareness, I want to give you guys tips, actionable steps that you're able to do to start to allow your body to recover better. Not just in like all of like the fun things that we think of as like massage, foam rolling, or like hot, cold. Like, yes, they all have their place, but there's so many simple things that we're able to do throughout our day just allow our body to tip into this parasympathetic state to allow our bodies to heal better. So that's part one of the workshop. Part two is we're going to teach you how to move better. So a lot of this is teaching our bodies to recover better. And one of the ways that we're able to teach our bodies to move better is through movement. So you guys do this similarly with the animal flow, because a lot of the positions that you do in animal flow, I kind of break those down even further so that we're able to connect with these little individual like segments to allow our bodies to have more of this parasympathetic state so our bodies are able to recover better. I didn't talk about our nervous system. So our nervous system is kind of like our electrical circuitry in our body. So we have our sympathetic and our parasympathetic. When we are stressed all the time from work, school, our workouts, how we live our life, the people we're around, how we think, this is going to limit our capacity to heal. And we heal in this parasympathetic state. So movement is one of the ways that we're able to allow our bodies to tap into this parasympathetic state. So we're able to heal in terms of our aches, pains, but also our energy, our mood, all the little symptoms that are going on inside of us in terms of hormonal, gut conditions, even people with blood pressure problems. When we tap into this parasympathetic state, and what we're going to do is we're going to use movement to tap into this parasympathetic state, it allows us to heal in so many different ways. And the last part of the workshop is we're going to be talking about nutrition because this is a major part. This is literally what we are made up of. And if we're not addressing our nutrition in terms of what we eat, how we eat, the ratios, the timings, we are fighting an uphill battle. So I want to address each of these different components so that we can work out, we could be healthy, we could look the way that we want, and we could do whatever it is that we want in life so our bodies aren't continuously holding us back.
I think it's one of the other big areas that I've tried to educate my clients on is the proactive health approach versus the reactive health approach, which is, if you think of it as you're investing in your health rather than I'm just accumulating health debt that I'll just pay off when I'm in my 50s or 60s or 70s. You're going to realize that you're ending up spending a whole lot more money at the end stage, whereas if you were just putting a little bit of funds towards it earlier on, it kind of has that compounding interest factor where you end up needing to work a lot less hard in your old age to maintain the muscle mass that you've built, because I think a number of us have started to hear this, but the muscle being the new longevity organ, because it is involved in hormone balance, it is involved in energy balance, it is involved in structural balance, it is involved in mobility, ability, and all these different things that accumulate to you being able to have that high quality of life to make that longevity even worth pursuing. So I think a lot of people are using that longevity word, but they're still looking for the quick fix, and the longevity is in doing the work.
Yes.
From a earlier point rather than a farther point. So starting when you're 50 is still way better than waiting till you're 75. Starting at 25 would be better than starting at 55. And training in your 20s for longevity versus training in your 20s for ego and vanity will usually have a much better result, because you won't tear your bicep, you won't have that worn out lumbopelvic area because you were squatting too heavy for your mechanics. Whatever it is that I may have seen in the past with other people, I think if you have the right mindset as you approach your training, you can make sure that it's not so brutal that you're beating your body down with your workouts, but you're actually building your body up over decades. So by the time you hit 60, you're pretty well muscle mass, you're very mobile, you're able to control your sympathetic and parasympathetic states. You can sleep well, you're recovering well. You don't have that low energy state that you might feel most of your friends talk about as they hit that 55 and plus, especially if they're not doing hormone replacement therapy already. That's another big topic. I find a lot of people are scared of doing that as they hit that 40 to 55 range. Like, should I do that replacement therapy? I hear that's only for guys who want to get really jacked. Like, no, there's a lot of physiological balance you can achieve with just a small amount of HRT, and starting it before you start dealing with all of the menopausal symptoms. I have seen a number of clients see a lot better transitions through those years by doing it earlier rather than later. And understanding your baseline. That's another thing I want everyone to know. If you're in your 20s, double check what your testosterone and estrogens and see what all that looks like. And you're probably going to have to ask for it. I had to ask to get my testosterone added to my blood work because they're like, you're 26, you're fine, you're healthy, you don't need to look into that. That costs extra. I'm like, well, charge me then, because I want to know what my baseline is. So when I am 40, 45 or whatever, I start to feel that dip, I know what my body feels good at. And I know where I have liked to sit for the last few decades, so I know exactly where that doctor should try to hit as far as a target. I'm not going to have to do this 6-month playing around with, did I get too much testosterone the first 3 months and then too low of a dose the second 3 months, and then I felt shitty both times, so now 6 months goes by and I still feel low energy, and now I have back knee and whatever because the dosage wasn't right from the start. Those are things that I've noticed that I want to help through this podcast and this Return to Play program, help people understand how to take control and be that advocate for themselves, because most of the time that doctor's got 5 to 15 minutes to spend with you, and they sometimes barely get through the whole chart. I just had a client of my wife's go through a pretty big surgery, and the doctors didn't look at her chart as they walked in, and they didn't realize she had an umbilical mesh. So they tried to cut through an umbilical mesh to do a kidney operation when they should have obviously gone around the side. So that is likely going to be a conversation she's going to have with the surgeon in a legal fashion down the road, because that is a big oversight. They're not checking checklists. Doctors only have a few minutes. They are human. And sometimes when you're in these systems where all they care about is how fast you're getting people in and out the door, you overlook stuff like that. And it's not the first time I've heard that. I had a cousin who has a very unique, rare heart organ condition, and she had been fully pre-opted for a surgery, and the doctor at Vanderbilt came in and was immediately just like looked at her chart and was like, I can't do this today. I didn't realize she was different. So he waited until right before he walked into the surgery room to like pull up her chart instead of a little bit of due diligence. I'm sure she has a big thing across her file that says she is not a normal roadmap. You need to look at her charts ahead of time.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's going to take me 4 hours to understand this, so I can't do the surgery today. And she was already like in pre-op, like half anesthesia.
Well, at least he said no.
Already. Like at least he realized, but sometimes that
it doesn't happen.
And people are still leaving scissors in kids in little areas. And this brings back a book that I was encouraged to read a while back that just talks about how important checklists are. Even if you do something 1,000 times, you're going to forget some stuff here and there. So creating those systems, and all with, even in your training program, you have your systems like, these are the barriers where I won't go past. If I see more than 5 grams of added sugar, I'm not going to have it. Or whatever parameters you place on yourself once you kind of have done your experimenting with your body, which I think that actually segues very nicely into my next question, which was, what does your training look like for yourself now that you've gotten all of this knowledge? You did the workout 5 or 6 days a week, and that didn't necessarily serve you well. So what does your training look like now?
So I work out 3 days a week, like an actual official workout. They are strength training. So I do 2 days that are strength training focused, pretty much total body. And then 1 day it's more HIIT, plyometrics, calisthenics. So it gives me 4 days to recover. In the 4 days that I'm off, it's not that I'm not doing anything. I am always doing something. But the days that I'm off, I'm really trying to maximize my recovery. Because yes, I'm working out and my workouts are hard. They're very hard. So I want to be able to maximize my recovery, but also I'm doing a whole bunch of different things through life. So ideally, I would like to work out maybe 4 or 5 times a week, but my life doesn't allow it right now. And because of that, I really try to do stuff outside of my workout to allow my body to tap into this parasympathetic state. So similar to like what you guys do with like your animal flow, it's really connecting with my body. It's a lot of mobility work. It's a lot of breath work because that's the foundation of how we move. And I will do that in the morning. I'll do it at night. I have my massage ball where I'm kind of working on allowing my muscles, or the muscles in my body that are extra tight, to move a little bit better. So it just improves my function overall. And I take walks, a couple hours, I'd say maybe like 4 hours in total out of the week. And then sometimes I run like 3 miles.
Sounds like a nice, well-rounded program there.
Try to practice what I preach.
When you say your workouts are hard, do you mean that as far as intensity, as far as volume, or is it one day one and one day a little more the other?
So I say that in terms of intensity. Okay. So I lift very heavy. I'm in kind of like the 8 to 12 repetition range to target hypertrophy. And then sometimes it depends on the lift that I'm doing. So if it's like a very like heavy, like total body compound lift, I might do nothing in between, like when I'm resting. So I'm getting that high intensity followed by rest, because I feel like a lot of people neglect that component. Yeah. But if it's something that might be like a lunge or something that's not as heavy, I might compound it or do a superset with another body part. So I work out maybe 60 to 90 minutes. And in that time, it's high intensity in terms of like the resistance. I'm trying to be very specific in what I'm trying to do, but I'm allowing a lot of rest in between there. And then in terms of like my plyometric calisthenics day, it's high intense in that I'm jumping, I'm giving it all I got, and then I'm bringing it back down to rest. And I feel like the rest part, it's important outside of our life, but it's also very important in our workouts as well, so that you're able to go back up to that high intensity to get the stimulus that you need to get the results that you want.
1000%. And that's one element I like to point out a lot too, is we're training versus we're working out, right? Training is very deliberate, goal focused. You know what you're doing to get the results you need. You have to have that rest, especially if you're lifting as heavy as it sounds like you might be. You're gonna need maybe 90 seconds, sometimes more, in between those sets for you to perform that next set well. And when those next sets start to suffer, you can know that you're not resting long enough to get the benefits of what you're aiming for. And then that's where people start hitting these like, well, I feel like I'm lifting heavy, but I'm not progressing and I'm hitting these plateaus. It's really because you're not timing things in the most ideal fashion. Usually you're supersetting with something where maybe that shouldn't have a superset. Like the big compound lifts, squat, bench, deadlift, oftentimes if you're working in those high weight, lower rep ranges, you probably shouldn't have a compounding movement in between, because it's still taxing your nervous system. And to lift heavy, that's where you need the strength. It's the nervous system strength, not just your muscle strength. You need the intensity to get out of the hole from whatever that lift is. So having that strength and conditioning background and the PT background and being able to utilize knowledge from both, I think is what I really liked about when I first met you. I was like, all right, this is a physical therapist that does have a fitness component, understands strength and conditioning, can apply the full body to a PT knowledge as well. So I think that's where a lot of the complementary nature of what we can do with the Return to Play has a lot of potential. As far as HIIT, what is your thoughts on it in general, and then more specifically to the models that target middle-aged women to do HIIT in such a frequent bout on a weekly basis, and how that should be utilized in the training program? Because I know you said you do HIIT, but you do it 1 day a week.
Yes.
It sounds, right?
Yes.
So go ahead and give us a little bit of your thoughts there.
I feel like HIIT absolutely has its place. It is not for everybody, and I feel like it's being overprescribed because it's, like it said, it's high intensity. So you're doing something that is very intense, and if you're doing something that's very intense for 5-6 days out of the week, you're not giving your body optimal recovery. And this is pretty much what the conversation is about, is we're not giving our body optimal recovery. And if we're doing something that is high intensity throughout the workout, depending on how long it is, if you're trying to keep something that's high intensity for a sustained period of time, it's gonna be hard. So the workout that you're doing, like the intensity of the workout is gonna drop throughout the exercise. And in order to get the results that we want, we need to be able to get to that high intensity, not just kind of drop throughout the exercise. So when so many of us are doing this high intensity workout, you're likely not getting the result that you want because it's too high of intensity. And what you're actually doing is you're just kind of staying at this moderate intensity throughout the workout. So if anybody was to do high intensity interval training, I would say probably it needs to be a lot less frequent than what you're doing. And you want to have bouts where you're getting the high intensity, but really bring it down to the low intensity. So like what we just said, you have the ability to recover so that you can get back up to the high intensity. Because when we get to that high intensity, this is what's going to drive the results, not just staying at this moderate level. And I say 1, maybe 2 days a week, not this 4, 5, 6, is it's going to allow you to recover so much better in between the workouts so that you get more out of the workouts. And in terms of menopause and perimenopause, like our hormones are going to start to dip later in life, and that's going to affect our recovery. And so many of us have this like cardio HIIT workout. It's like so drilled into us. And over the course of our life, if we're doing this, and let's face it, this is a lot of us have been doing this heavy HIIT cardio style workout for years at a time. Over the course of our life, our recovery is dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. And this is going to have an effect on our hormones, our gut, our mental health, our just everything in our body. And then when we're adding this HIIT style workout on top of it, this 4, 5, 6 days a week, it is contributing to so many of the health issues that we're experiencing, and you're not going to be getting the results that you'd like. So maybe 1 to 2 days a week, and then you really want to make sure that you're bringing up the intensity high enough, but then dropping it down low. And I'd say maybe like a 1 to 2, 1 to 1, maybe 1 to 3 ratio, where you're doing the high intensity for that 1 and then resting, maybe like walking or jogging, depending on who you are, for that 1 to 3 ratio.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I've had a number of clients come in and they hit that whole like, I've been doing, whether it's something like CrossFit or Orange Theory or something where they're like, I did it for a while and I just didn't see any results. I felt tired and wiped after workouts, but like I wasn't seeing the weight go down. I wasn't feeling my energies getting any better. I wasn't really going anywhere, and having to explain to people, I'm like, what you're doing in that type of a session is you're working out for the calories. You're not working out for the benefits that you get down the road, which is the strength that you gain from it, the mobility that you gain from it, and this that you gain from it. You're just trying to burn 400 or 500 calories in an hour, versus maybe it's better that you only burn 300 calories in that session, but it's much more targeted, much more efficient to the areas of concern.
Yeah.
I have a number of people that they'll leave our first handful of sessions and like they're like they don't say that was it, but like the tone in their voice was like, oh, I was expecting, to be a little more, this or that, exhausted, whatever. They come back the next day and they're like, man, I'm sore in some interesting areas. I'm like, yeah, see, it doesn't have to be crazy intense sweat session for you to feel like you got a very targeted workout on the areas that you needed. Because where are you sore at? They'll be like, yep, right here, like these little areas. I'm like, yeah, areas you probably have never been sore. They're like, nope. I'm like, that's because we're activating things that you haven't used before in order to get that whole shoulder girdle, elbow, whatever it is, to rotate better through the joint, to floss better so you don't get nerve sensation anymore. Whatever it is, that's what we're doing when we're training versus just exercising for a sweat.
Yeah, they're getting that high intensity so that they're able to get the result that they want, and then they're probably recovering better because they're actually getting the rest in there. Exactly. So they're thinking like, oh, it needs to be hard. I need to work out. I need to get this really good sweat. But in kind of tweaking kind of the parameters of the workout, you see so much better results.
And I'm challenging your nervous system in a much more pinpointed fashion versus you being exhausted nervous system and just like defeated, sweaty, shaking as you're walking out the door. Your legs are, wobbling as you're getting out because all of the extra heavy squatting that you did. Like, well, sometimes it doesn't need to be more to be more effective. Sometimes the whole less is more situation is something I have to really educate people on as they come through those first few sessions with me. I'm like, what we're doing in here isn't your standard personal training. I'm not just giving you 3 sets of 12 on lat pull downs and we're going to hit it till you failure. Very different style of training. So I like exactly where you landed with the HIIT stuff. I think that's pretty spot on. It's understanding where am I at, what is my point in life, and what is my actual goal, and how can I train best and most efficiently to hit that goal and not feel like I'm spinning tires. And that's what we're here to do with Return to Play, is help you find where are those holes in the system that are allowing all of this stuff to just leak out so you can't get your cup all the way full. Even if you're the half empty versus half full person, sometimes that's just a matter of perspective. But in order to get your cup all the way full, you got to find these areas where things are leaking out, whether it's dysfunction in how you walk, dysfunction in how you sleep, dysfunction in how you address stressful situations.
All the above.
Maybe you react instead of respond. That's a whole nother behavioral component, but can be very illustrating of someone who's in those very sympathetic states versus has a good control of the parasympathetic, where they can hear that outlandish comment, digest it for a second, and respond in a proper way versus like yell right back and then exacerbate whatever that encounter was. So I guess some final wrap-up questions, a couple that I'm going to try and start asking everyone that comes on the show is, what does Return to Play mean to you?
It means being able to be your best in life, and we can't do that without taking care of our body. So we need to pretty much learn to return to play. We need to learn how to move better in our body. We need to start to implement some type of fitness program that works for us, so that whatever it is that we're trying to do in life, whether it's to be a better mom, to just show up better in your business, your job, or even just do the things that we love, whether that's just like playing something that we used to do when we were younger, or travel, or just be active in our life, we're able to do that.
Whatever that activity is that brings you joy. A lot of times the only thing people think about when they hear the words play is, oh, I don't play sports anymore. I used to play the piano, so like maybe they'll think of an instrument. Like both of those are great, but there's a lot of other options out there. Taking time and grounding on the floor with Animal Flow, very primal, very connecting, very efficient practice that feels very playful once you get a little bit proficient. It's one of the terms that I've heard correlated with the word play is its association with depression. And it said the opposite of depression is play. And what a lot of people I think are missing in this very stressed out and very overly depressed world we live in right now is a lot of people don't have anything that they think of as play.
Yeah,
They're
that they enjoy.
Going out to the bar is probably as close to like playing as people sometimes think of, unless you think of kids on a monkey bar or like a sport or an instrument. And
play is healing. Play is parasympathetic activity. We all need to play.
Yep. If you hit that, like, oh, 4 hours went by and I didn't even realize what happened, that's flow state. And that is very commonly associated with play. That's why it always feels like your weekends go by like that. It's because usually you're doing something you enjoy and the time just, we are just trying to make sure those activities are also serving your body, not just beating it up. So if it's just going out to the bar and having alcohol on the weekends, or if it's just going out and savage race every week, You know, those things are, while they have their place, it's learning when and how and the frequency that those activities will continue to help me and encourage me rather than, you know, I know some ultra marathoners who do ultras multiple times a month. And I'm like, that's hugely damaging to the system. Just because your body can take it doesn't mean
we can do it, but should we do it?
So trying to just help you guys think of any other sort of activities that you might be able to call play in your day-to-day to help you find a little more joy in your day-to-day is kind of what we're here for.
Yeah.
So I guess last question I have for you is, what other ways do you find play in your day-to-day?
I think one of the biggest things for me, and I haven't done it, I need to go back to playing. I started earlier this year. I took pole dancing.
Yeah.
And it is so fun.
Yeah,
it feels like
took a few classes and had a blast.
it feels like you're a kid on monkey bars. So I love to dance, and I think that's my favorite thing to do to play.
That has a strength element, it has a stability element, definitely
Movement.
A mobility element, has all of it. So those are very good examples.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we had initially called our LLC Primal Pole and Prana was because we wanted to have a pole element.
Oh, really?
It obviously, the calisthenics bars, you could call them poles of their own, but we slowly have moved into more of the aerial route. But I am looking to talk with Circuit Club about doing the hanging poles.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of those in town. I'm like, there's a decent amount of pole studios in
hanging
town now.
pole?
Yeah, if you haven't seen what the hanging poles look like, it's awesome. So I'll have to show you a clip after we get done filming here. But it would be a unique version of pole that we could offer here that's still tied in with the aerial a little bit, but has that same
That'd be cool.
same dynamic. But very cool. Well, thank you for coming on the Return to Play
Thank you for having
podcast.
me.
We'll be back next week with our next guest. I will see you all then. Have a good rest of the day.
See ya.